Welcome back to Full-Time Yoga Teacher Podcast. My name is Reika and I am your host. If you are a returning listener to this podcast, welcome back. I'm so happy that you decided to tune in today. And if you are a new listener of this podcast, I want to say welcome and thank you for giving this a try. Full-Time Yoga Teacher Podcast is a podcast where I get to interview other full-time yoga teachers from across the world to share their journey of how they got to where they are. How are they making being a full-time yoga teacher work? Because I am a full-time yoga teacher for almost 10 years, I always have been curious with how other people do it. And many yoga teachers are so creative and hardworking, and it's so fun for me to talk to other yoga teachers to hear their journey, but also how are they building their yoga business so that you can do this full time. Although I do interview mostly full-time yoga teachers, I have interviewed part-time teachers or somebody who used to be a full-time yoga teacher who's no longer a full-time yoga teacher. I have interviewed meditation teachers. I have interviewed many interesting people, but all kind of still related to our field. And today I have a really exciting conversation I want to share with you. So I have gotten a request in the past to talk about my yoga retreat in Nicaragua that I ran earlier this year, to talk about how did that retreat go, how was the planning like, questions regarding to that retreat. And I thought about recording that podcast by myself, but I didn't feel right recording that podcast episode without my guest today, Jo, because Jo has been helping me plan and organize this retreat. And this has been a project that we have been working on for about a year together. So I wanted to bring her on, and so that we can both talk about this retreat experience together. And I think you'll find this conversation interesting. In my retreat and retreat planning stage, she is more than my assistant or helper. She took a lead on a lot of things, and she also helped me plan and organize and kind of keep me on track with organizing my retreat. Because retreat and organizing a retreat and leading a retreat, it's such a big project that sometimes feels kind of daunting when you're starting from zero, and especially if you're doing it alone. So even though this retreat was my retreat, I didn't have another co-teacher with me. She played a role of my assistant, helper, consultant, CEO, I don't know the name, but she has played a big role in helping this retreat come to fruition. So anyway, that's why I wanted to bring her on, and so we can kind of reminisce on our retreat, how the planning stage went, how the retreat went, everything that went into it. And I think it'll be interesting to hear both of our perspectives, because we played a slightly different role before, during, and after the retreat, but for the same common goal. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I do want to say one thing, that I am not sharing this experience as a retreat expert. This Nicaragua yoga retreat was the first yoga retreat that I have run on my own. I mean, obviously I had Jo to help me. So I am not an expert on running a retreat at all. But I wanted to share what it took for me to get this retreat going with the help from Jo. So I hope this conversation can be helpful for anybody who is interested in running their own retreat. And also if you're interested in how my retreat was organized and ran. And I think there's just no one perfect way to run a retreat. There's so many different kinds of retreat out there. But I hope some of the things I share or what I learned and how my experience was going to be helpful for you if you are running your own yoga retreat, or if you are thinking about running your own yoga retreat. And I say this in the conversation too, but I hope to get better and refine each retreat I lead. So like I said, I'm not an expert on running retreat, but I enjoyed the process and I learned a lot from my first experience. And I want to keep refining, keep improving my retreat. And since my retreat is quite intentional, and I think there's a lot more steps that it takes, possibly compared to other yoga retreats out there. So I want to share our experience, my experience, and I hope this will be helpful for you. And if you are looking for somebody to help you organize and run your business, yoga business or retreat, Jo is offering an amazing service, and she'll share that at the end. So I hope you take a chance and reach out, because you just never know. Like I said before, without her help, this retreat wouldn't have happened, or it would have happened maybe 5 years from now. It would have taken a lot longer. So I think it's so amazing the work that Jo offers, or service that she offers to yoga teachers and movement teachers out there. And I hope you check out her offerings. And I'll be sharing all of that at the end, as well as she'll be sharing more of that at the end of the conversation. We're talking all about our experience of running the yoga retreat in Nicaragua that happened earlier this year in July, called Align with Purpose Ethical Yoga Retreat in Nicaragua. So I hope you enjoy this conversation, and I'll speak to you on the other side. Welcome, Jo, to Full-Time Yoga Teacher Podcast. I'm so excited that we are finally having this conversation. So a little bit of backstory for the listeners. I have been requested to talk about the retreat that I hosted earlier this year called Ethical Yoga Retreat, Align with Purpose in Nicaragua. And I didn't feel right talking about this retreat and my own reflections on this retreat without Jo, because Jo was there with me from step zero, and she's the one who helped me organize. She's the one who helped me during the retreat, before and after. So it was a joint project, and that's why I wanted to bring her on so we can talk about the retreat experience together. But for the listener, please let everybody know, where are you from and where are you logging in from today?
Yeah. Thanks, Reika. Man, I'm super honored that you asked me to come sort of from behind the scenes where I was before. So I'm Jo. I come from the Seattle area. I live in Snoqualmie. Yeah, I met Reika during a yoga teacher training in Peru, and I fell in love with her teaching style. She's so incredibly passionate and anatomy driven, which I really liked. And gosh, just the way that she taught us was effusive and humble and authentic. It's really hard, I think, to describe authenticity. So when you see it in action, I think that's something that's really special. Yeah, I mean, I remember you briefly mentioning at that yoga teacher retreat and training that you had always wanted to run your own retreat. And I think that's kind of where it started.
Yes. Oh my God. I remember at the end of that training, it was 2 weeks together in rainforest jungle, Peru. At the end of that training, you offered to help me with my yoga business. And I think, I don't know, I could be wrong with all the exact words, but you said that you like to help passionate small business owner make their dream come true.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw how beautiful your light shines, and that you were feeling frustrated with like just the admin tasks that keep you from taking next steps forward. And I have a knack for digging into those. And I love meeting really cool people and finding ways for them to shine their light where they want to, or a little bit brighter, or however else you'd want to extend that metaphor.
Yeah. And it was really fun for me to work with you, first of all. But I do want to say I have had people approach me in the past, and we've done work trade where hey, maybe they want to become my online yoga member or be part of the mentorship program as a trade. And I had a handful of people say, I can help you with this part of the business. So I had people like that before who helped me with my business. But I think working with you, Jo, after a couple meetings, I knew that you're really good at what you do. And
Aw.
I felt very heard. Like you really listened to what I want the business to be all about, or like my heart and soul behind what I do. And I feel like you were really good at bringing that out and also like organizing my thought process because I do have values and ethics and missions, and there is this, what I believe in and how I want to show up in the yoga world as a business owner. But you were able to kind of put that into like organized
Mhm.
message and
Mhm.
put it into a beautiful wording that I always have hard time. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. I mean, that's how I've come to doing this for people is just like meeting people that are like you, that have goals and dreams. And like I said, there's just something that's holding you back. And I mean, I've got a knack for words. I really like words, but I really love listening to people's stories and listening to you talk about your background and how you've been so purposeful with your journey towards becoming a full-time yoga teacher. And I mean, really, what you are also is a community maker.
Yeah.
Um, you're promoting a more peaceful world. And so I just feel like anytime I meet people that are special like that, I'm like, well, if I have a couple extra hours to figure out how to write an email for you, let me just do it. I think it started with, a love for like technical writing and a love for wordsmithing, but also just deep appreciation for people who are creative and that there are multiple intelligences and just like, yeah, like you don't have to be able to do everything, right? Like
Mhm.
and what a gift it is to maybe have somebody support you on the things that aren't your favorite. And so I helped other people like with basic like website design and poster making and I don't know, all those things before, before we were really living online, let's say.
Mhm.
And I also helped run a movement studio for a little while. So I just had a small business background. I tried to run my own small business for a little while. Having had that experience, I think also gives me a lot of empathy for what you're doing.
Mhm.
It's not easy being a small business owner.
Yeah.
And also maybe like if you don't have $1 million to spend on hiring employees to do all of those tasks that businesses that have multiple employees and a revenue stream to do that, what are the answers, right? Like how can you progress? Because I felt like as a small business owner that you get to those places where you're sort of stuck because there's the pull between your time and your capacity and money, right?
Yeah.
Because your time is your money. I mean, it is for a lot of people, but especially in the small business world, right? Like, if you don't have more time to create the revenue stream, then you can't hire an employee that will help you create more time. And you're sort of
Yes.
caught in that. And so I kind of like thinking of it like, well, yeah, what does it look like to have somebody be a project based admin for you? But yeah, I mean, work trade worked out for me. I got to, take some of your yoga classes online and we kind of built it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. And tell the listeners what is your full-time job because this is not only what you do, you have another full-time job and this is kind of what you do on top of that.
Okay, that's fair, Rika. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is not what I do full time, though. I mean, it would be cool if that's where it got to one day. No, I'm a full time high school teacher, and I think I've always just kind of had second jobs kind of on the side. I teach English as well as journalism and multi-language learners. That's formerly, or some people still call it ESL, English as a second language.
Mhm.
So I think, in the teaching world, you kind of get like stuck thinking that you're only good at one thing, and that's teaching high schoolers. And I've really been challenging myself to think about ways in which you can apply a lot of those skills elsewhere.
Mhm.
Obviously, being a yoga teacher is a natural place for that, but also like being able to organize somebody's business naturally makes sense to me. But yeah, I think,
And you're really, really good at it. So we started having like monthly meeting and I don't even know what we would call you. Like, what would your position be? Like, if you could call it whatever, how would you describe what you do for a small business owner, or what would the title
yeah.
be?
I love that that captures almost every meeting we would ask
Mhm.
that question. Like, what do we call me? Because I'm not really like just your assistant. So I think by the end, you said I was almost like your interim CEO, which I really
Mhm.
appreciated and was like, I don't know. Like I was in charge of things, but only as like a conduit of what you wanted, right? Yeah. And then talking with my grandfather, actually, he sort of told me what I was really doing was like organic adaptive consulting. So maybe I was a consulting CEO, maybe I was, an operations manager for you.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways to describe it, but I've sort of
Yeah.
landed on that organic adaptive consulting in that the other people I've worked with aren't yoga teachers. So it's not just specific for that.
Mhm.
Generally, though, they are small business owners
Mhm.
trying to take the next steps and make their goals happen.
Yes. Seriously, like this retreat wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for your help. So let's kind of talk about the like a planning process. So we started working after meeting each other in Peru, but I think I maybe shared with you or maybe shared with the group. I've been sharing on a podcast. I've been sharing with my email newsletter that there's a dream retreat that I want to run, and it's been on my mind for a long time and on my to-do list, like very very backup to-do list forever of this retreat, this dream retreat I want to run. And that retreat was ethical yoga retreat where it's a yoga retreat. We do go travel to a beautiful place, another country, but not only do we just go there and sit in the pool and enjoy the beauty of the country and do yoga and go home, but I wanted to run a retreat where there's some kind of like cultural exchange that happen, where part of the money that people register to come to the retreat will go towards the local nonprofit organization. And not only are we donating our money, I wanted to create retreat activities. That some of the activities included volunteering with the local NGO and going into the local community. So there's more of this like relationship and conversations and exchange that happens between the local community and us who coming in as a visitor to that country and that community.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my vision for retreat. And on top of that, obviously, do yoga every day. And we are like, it is about wellness and all of that, community, all of that. But I wanted that aspect of partnering with local NGOs and giving back. So that's been on my dream for a really long time. I've been talking about it. And we decided, well, Joe, you were like, okay, let's make that dream come true.
Yeah.
And I always felt like it was this huge, daunting project, a big project that I just didn't know where to start. And also slightly afraid to start because I was like, what if nobody signs up? So, and then you came in and you kind of like helped me, like, okay, these are the things we need to do. These are the checklists for you to get it done so that we can start promoting this retreat.
Yeah. I like using the image of almost like when you present me a problem or an anxiety or question or something like that. Sometimes, I can answer it quickly for you, but sometimes I let you just get it all out so that it's all the puzzle pieces all together. And then I stop and I take, a really tall ladder and I go to the top and I look at all of it to say, like, what is the bigger picture here? So that way I can come back and move those pieces around so that we can actually create something that you can understand. Because having been on the other side, right, all of those little tiny pieces feel so overwhelming that you get lost in them and you don't even know what it is, the picture that you're trying to create from your puzzle, right? But for me, like, maybe it's just like, it's less risky to be the person that isn't like running it, right? So it's easier for me to just pop up to the top and just kind of like create the image based on what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
I know from a lot of our meetings, it didn't start with just the retreat. We did meet first as just a values-based conversation to make sure that you felt like your brand and your yoga business, right, like actually aligned with who you are as a yoga teacher, which of course it did, but I loved being able to like fine tune that because in that process, I was able to learn about who you are and both professionally and personally. But
Mhm.
that also gave me the path then to plan where you wanted to go for your retreat. I feel like the piece that you've maybe mentioned to some people, but maybe don't mention often too, is that like you wrote an entire master's thesis on volunteerism. And
Yeah.
so like when I learned that about you during the yoga teacher training retreat, I was like, man, if there was anybody I would trust to do a quote unquote ethical yoga retreat, it would be you
Um,
because I know, coupled with that background knowledge, but also your reflective practice and gosh, you are constantly thinking about how you can grow and change and the impact that you're making in the world. Yeah. I mean, you are a model and a leader for people who would want to put this kind of retreat on, for sure.
Mm.
So I felt honored to help make it happen.
And I was very, very happy. It's like you were somebody that I had no idea that I was looking for in terms of like
Oh,
all this, big, intimidating plan and project that I have a hard time like getting it going, making into small steps so that we are making progress towards it. I think that's what you really helped
yeah.
with this retreat and getting it going. And also, I think another part is just like simply having somebody who can be my accountability buddy. Like we'll have a meeting and you'll say, okay, you're going to go check this retreat center out. And you're going to make a decision by this day, whether it's a yes or no. And if it's a yes, we're going to start, making the landing page and the pricing, blah, blah, blah. And all that is like kind of obvious. Like for me, I had to go see the place. That was important for me. See it personally just before I decide. Um, but having somebody that I know I have to report to about like, okay,
Yeah.
yes, I made a decision, or if I didn't have like deadline, like I probably would have like sat with that decision whether should I choose this location or not for probably like another 3 months probably.
Well, and you did sit with it right until the end. I remember you going there and I was sitting for like 4 or 5 days being like, I don't know if she's going to message me, but like,
Yeah.
it makes me really reflect like,
Uh-huh.
uh, yeah, you were accountable to me. And the process was very much like helping you see that you have the capacity and the ability to make the choices
Mhm.
and to just encourage you to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so I do want to like highlight that like,
Mhm.
yes, I was helping you make those choices, but I wasn't making the big ones, right? Like
Yeah.
it was your process, it was your retreat. I was just able to see through when you would get decision fatigue or when you were unsure, and I would help you with some yes nos to help you just continue the momentum.
Yeah.
And then from the process for there, we just sort of built what was a natural cadence. And I think that's sort of the organic piece of it, like that I think is cool that people can kind of reflect on. Like, do you need to meet once a week? Sometimes we did when there was a
Mhm.
really big piece that felt like it needed some quick decisions. We planned a once a week meeting until we
Mhm.
felt like we had some solid pieces. I think once we
Mhm.
launched the retreat, we then went to monthly for a few
Mhm.
months. And
Yeah.
then when we got closer, we built it up, I think, twice a month.
Mhm.
And I created a goal backwards calendar, is what I would
Mhm.
call it. So, if going to the retreat is the final goal, and then we have some bigger stepping stones along the way, what were all of the little pieces that needed to happen? We also had a lot of sessions where you would sort of just brain dump at me,
Mhm.
just all of the things that you wanted to happen.
Mhm.
And I loved that my job wasn't to tell you no. My job was to realistically show you if you had the time to do them.
Mhm.
And I loved working with you too, because I we both got to honor our own capacity, right?
Mhm.
So there were times that I was able to take on some projects for you, but mostly it was just organizing the things and helping you see that it was possible
Mhm.
um, to make your dreams happen.
Yeah.
So like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you highlight such a good point because I think what's interesting about our partnership is that we're not like sometimes two yoga teachers come together and they run a retreat together. But in this case, it was like I had a vision and you came on to help me, but it wasn't. And this is where it gets like I get confused of like, what do I call you? Because you're not just an assistant, but you really helped me maybe like brainstorm a thing, or when I needed to brain dump all my ideas or everything in my thought, you were able to listen to my brain dump and kind of like organize my brain dump into like, okay, let's get this things done by next week when we see each other. So it
Yeah.
was really super helpful for me to
Yeah.
have and also
Like,
sometimes I needed to kind of like go back and forth with ideas, like what do you think about this? And it's nice to have somebody to bounce ideas around or even like get that reassurance, I guess, because sometimes I do second guess myself a lot.
I think I said multiple times, more than half my job ended up being telling you that you were doing everything right. Like, I think I said that multiple times every meeting where I'm like, "You're doing everything right. Like, we are making our goals. Like, this
Yeah.
is gonna happen. Yes, people are gonna sign up." And I mean, that thing sold out pretty quickly. So like
Yeah.
you did it, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, that just being your cheerleader is also what I kept talking about. That's over half my job, is being like, "No, Reika, it's gonna happen. I swear." Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I'm a creative organizer, a creative consultant.
Mm.
Who knows?
I
I
love
will figure out the name. But
it.
another question I see out here was,
Mhm.
how did we decide how to organize the pre-retreat information?
Mhm.
And I think that came naturally during those brain dumps when you would say, well, but how will people know this information, or how will we connect with people? And I have run not retreats, but I guess, yeah, I've run a couple retreats. I've run events and retreats before, and also being in a classroom setting, I think I know sort of like how to build anticipation and help people feel confident going into an event when they don't know what to expect. So I think we were able to decide on a frequency for like a Zoom meeting. So we met with people twice before the retreat happened. Once about, I think, was it like 2 or 3 months before, just to like answer general questions, give as much information as we knew at that point, and to gather information. We also sent out a survey at that point to gather interest about activities and questions that we couldn't answer. And then about a month before, we had another Zoom meeting. So that way, again, if people couldn't join the first one, they could join. We could answer some more of those questions. We could give updates, all that kind of stuff. I think that was pretty crucial, having like giving an opportunity for FaceTime, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for people to feel confident. Can be a really big investment for people to decide going on a retreat.
Yeah. And I think nature of the retreat we run, for me, it was necessary to do that Zoom call. We did two Zoom calls, like Joe just shared, because I wanted to be able to answer a lot of questions. Because for some people, it was their first time traveling to Central America. For some people, it was their first yoga retreat, and because the retreat did have this like ethical retreat, volunteer work, nonprofit involvement and partnership collaboration, that I wanted to be able to answer the questions that they have, and also share my reasoning behind why, and I guess the values, the ethics and value and mission of this retreat. And I think some people really, what I learned from this is like some participants really want to know everything and get really involved and want to show up to every Zoom call and get to know other retreat participants in advance. Some people want to know it all, and then some people weren't able to or chose not to join a Zoom call at all, and they didn't ask that many questions prior to going to the retreat. So I think everyone's so different that and we had total of 16 people, and then I think 13 to 14 participants, and then
Yeah.
plus you. So um for this kind of international retreat, some people were nervous about going to Nicaragua. So I think it was really necessary to do this Zoom call to answer questions, reassure them. But also, another thing that I think is so important for retreat that I hear from other people when they talk about the other retreats they went to is, I think it's so important to set up expectations. So like I wanted to let people know, like, it's going to take a couple hours from the airport to this location. The shuttle is going to be this long. This place have animals, cats and dogs are roaming around on property. Or it's going to be hot and humid, and there'll be some bugs. We'll be in the jungle. Those kind of things. I wanted to really make sure it was crystal clear about like setting up expectations so
Totally.
nobody's surprised when they come to the retreat. Because not everybody read every single word on the landing page.
If only they would. No, one, and just knowing that people have different ways of accessing information and trying to make as many points of access, I think is a really important thing when you're thinking
Yeah.
about hosting really big events. We had people, I think it was their first international trip as well.
Mhm.
So it was their first time, handling customs and dealing with passport and immigration. and all of those things. So yeah, just I think you also have had lots of experience running retreats before and working for companies that were taking groups of people on interesting experiences. And so yeah, I think you had really great perspective on that too. Another question that's on here is, how
Mhm.
did you decide what was fair in our partnership? So
Mhm.
initially, it started as work trade, where I had access to your classes online and mentorship and that kind of stuff. And then eventually, you encouraged me to discuss if I felt like my role was changing and it would require compensation. So, how did
Mhm.
those kinds of conversations go? And how did you decide what would be fair?
Yeah, I think I don't know how we decided, but I think I presented a percentage. I don't I wanted to make sure it feels fair if you're helping me or I need service from somebody else. Like I don't want to ever feel like I'm taking advantage of people for their expertise that I'm benefiting from. So, I wanted to make sure it was fair. I didn't want you to feel like or me or this kind of give and take relationship to feel any resentment or feel unfair. And I think we maybe it was me who proposed let's do a percentage where
Hmm.
percentage of the profit I'll pay you with a
Hmm.
percentage of the profit after the retreat. And I think that felt safe for me as a business owner because I wasn't sure how many people were going to sign up. I wasn't sure how much money profit I was going to make from this retreat. So rather than having like a set price, like the percentage felt like good and fair. And we agreed upon a percentage that I think we both felt good about.
Yeah, yeah, it did feel good. Yeah. So then also, how did you decide on what is ethical, right? Because I think that is a pretty big word and you have a background in it and, discussing it and thinking about it and researching it. So how did you go through that process of deciding specifically what that would mean for this retreat?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I studied sociology in my master's, and my master thesis was about volunteer tourism. I was living in Cape Town, South Africa at the time. There was a lot of volunteer tourism organizations out there. And my thesis, the question was, who actually benefits from volunteer tourism? And I was very, critical in my thesis, and I was very like the volunteer benefits the most. The community doesn't get the benefit as much. And that was my conclusion. So I'm already coming in with a critical mindset of even just like tourism. Like I love to travel, but every time I travel, I'm trying to look at the situation, but also have the lens and perception of what I wonder how it feels like for the local community. What kind of economical effect is tourism having to the local community? And I think about that a lot. And I don't think there's like perfect way to do it, perfect way to
Yeah.
travel, perfect way to run a yoga retreat. But I wanted to do my best to think about and really critically reflect on how can we be less harming as a visitor coming into this community as a yoga retreat host and participant. And like I said, I still haven't cracked the code. I think there's still so much more room for improvement for me, but also like what I see out in the world of many people running and participating in yoga retreats. But I just wanted to make sure there's some kind of, it's not just visitors coming and taking and taking and taking as in like resources, taking as in culture. I wanted to make that power dynamic a little bit more equal. I don't know if I can ever make it completely equal. So I wanted to have some kind of like giving back aspect somehow. So that is why like percentage of the money that participants pay to come on the retreat going back to the local nonprofit was important. I wanted to research local nonprofits, meet the nonprofit leaders, have a conversation with them, and also how can we participate in some kind of community engagement program, volunteer work. And I think I learned a lot from this experience, and I think not many yoga retreats out there are thinking this far. So I feel like I want to give ourselves credit for trying and doing best we can. And do feel good about amount of money we got to donate to the organization and some of the interactions and relationship we were able to build. But I do want to keep improving. I feel like every retreat is opportunity for me to learn and think about how can I improve so the next time we do come, we are better as a guest.
Yeah. Hearing you talk about it again makes me think of like you needed to figure out proof of concept. And I don't think this type of retreat can become that level of like ethical without doing it. And I appreciated our reflection going, like thinking about this type of question and the ethics of it. We reflected that this time we made great community connections, and that was necessary in the first retreat, was to like actually be in the country and get to know people and start making those connections so that we can develop them, enrich them, and actually start asking those critical questions to then make it even more ethical. So we knew there were places, right, that maybe it didn't become quite exactly what you wanted it to be, or what, whatever it ended up being, but that there was room for us to change it and shift it and update it to, align to those standards and ethics that you have. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the reason it took so long to finalize this retreat. It's like I have to get to know the local nonprofit. Like, is a nonprofit that working in that community and like reaching out to them? Do I feel aligned with this nonprofit's mission and goals? And actually going there and meeting them. So all of that have to be done before deciding to open up a registration for this retreat. So it took a little bit longer than maybe a typical yoga retreat planning would be. And I tend to be hard on myself, but I just know, like you said, like every time we'll get better each time. First retreat, it was beautiful and it was a great success. But now I have a deeper connection and relationship with the people there more than I did last year or earlier this year or last year. So I feel like I can now continue to improve it and then
Yeah.
continue to improve it each time.
Yeah. It was just earlier this year. It hasn't even been a year yet. It feels like that because it was this time last year that we were planning it all, right? And you
Yeah.
went there and you visited, and it just, it's bananas that we're here again. So I think I said it align, right?
Uh-huh.
So how did you have a specific theme for the retreat? How did we, get to that place? Because one of the people from the mentorship asked, did you have a specific theme for the retreat or was it general?
Uh-huh.
And I think early on, you really started leaning towards wanting a theme.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of our early creative sessions, was letting you brain dump and get there. From your perspective, how did we get to the theme?
Yeah, I think it was important to have a theme and like a through line. Not all yoga retreats are this way. Some of the retreats you just show up in beautiful place, you practice yoga once or twice a day, and that's it. But I think the retreat, our Align with Purpose retreat, was very ended up becoming really, I think, intentional and purposeful one. And I knew because the ethical retreat part where we're actually, it's a little bit deeper than just traveling to a beautiful place and enjoying the place and leaving. There was a little more purpose behind it. So that's why the whole theme of the retreat became align with purpose. And purpose is sometimes bigger than just who we are. And it's a bigger purpose to what we do. And that part, it kind of aligned with how we are volunteering. We are giving back to the local community. We are donating our time and money. Also wanted all of us who came to the retreats to also connect with their each individual purpose. Um, because we get so caught up in just working, living a busy life back in the United States or back home. We did have somebody come from Amsterdam, so not only United States, but I wanted people to get like step out of that everyday routine and really start to connect with their deeper purpose, or if they don't know what their deeper purpose is, start to explore what would that be. So that was kind of like underlining theme of the retreat, and I decided to align chakra into it because I used to lead a 7 to 8 week chakra course online. Every week we went through one chakra. We did a yoga class that's themed around the chakra, and we did a discussion on that chakra. And since this retreat is also 1 week long, I was like, chakra. This will be perfect. So every day of the retreat, the yoga class, the philosophy discussions, the yin class, and even the daily activity was in alignment with each chakra. And we went through each chakra with the underlining purpose and theme of like finding our own dharma, which is our purpose. So even though it was chakra theme, with each chakra, the inquiry and reflections I want everybody to have was, how does this connect to you, becoming closer and more in alignment with who you truly are, so you can live your purpose, you can live your dharma. So that was the theme of the retreat. So all the yoga classes, all the yin classes, all the philosophy discussions, and even daily activities like volunteer work or hiking or temescal, all those things we did specifically put it on those dates that or salsa dancing too. We specifically put it on the date that aligned with the inquiry, reflection, and chakra work that we were doing each day. So I think it was a really, really intentional and purposeful flow of things.
Totally. And I think it also came from our initial values-driven conversation too. Like, I think I let you brain dump of, just what your business is like. Well, it was a little more organized than that, but, just the words that reflect your values for who you are as a yoga teacher, because not all yoga teachers are the same, right?
Mhm.
And we came up with, I think, the same phrase, align with purpose, is sort of a tagline for your website, those kinds of things. And then, you and I really connected on chakras during the teacher training. And I really like talking about them. I think there's such an interesting framework for examining yourself and others and the world. And I knew that if we structured the retreat around that you have such a beautiful way of presenting spirituality accessibly, that even if people maybe didn't read the description or didn't quite understand what the retreat how it was going to be organized around chakras, that they still would be gently offered an opportunity to learn about it without it feeling uncomfortable or religious or those kinds of things. So I know for some people that might be thinking about bringing in that spiritual aspect of yoga, right? That different, like the 8 limbs, right? It's not just our physicality.
Mm.
There is sort of that piece of like, well, do we put that into the retreat or not? And I know we talked about it a lot, but I kept saying like, no, the way that you teach it, that's what people need. That's what they're signing up for. That's what they're hoping to gain from you is this information and this perspective.
Yeah. And I remember there was one student or participant, or maybe even two, that I can think of, like they weren't sure if they're going to actually enjoy the philosophy discussions at the beginning. But I feel like towards the end, those two, and hopefully everybody they really enjoyed the philosophy discussion part.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I love teaching. That's where I light up and I get really fired up and passionate about sharing the philosophy part, because for me, obviously, 8 limb yoga is not just a physical practice we do on a yoga mat, but it's this beautiful philosophy that exists. And how can we make that philosophy like practical in our day to day? And how can we use those philosophy as like an inquiry and reflections? And this retreat definitely was my intention, was for them it's an opportunity to really reflect and get curious and ask questions to themselves through journal writing or daily activities. And it came with like a manual, so we actually made a manual, printed it out, and each day we went through our sections of each chakra. So it was almost like it's almost like, I would say it was like continuing education trainings almost, if you want to think about it that way. It wasn't just you show up and practice yoga and it's free time. We obviously did have free time and we did all the fun things, but there was like, daily reflections and journals if you wanted to participate. And obviously everything was optional. So you didn't have to participate in anything you didn't want to, or, you could sleep in if you needed to sleep in, or if you are not a journal person, you don't have to journal every day. But we just gave options for people to get involved as they wanted to.
Yeah, I was going to say some people were given that option during philosophy to like verbally process, right? And then others like written processing. And now I'm getting nerdy about education and the pedagogy of it. But just like, yeah, it gave everybody just the space that they needed. To that piece, the pros and cons of having a specific theme versus a general one, I'm hearing you say that we had a lot going on during the retreat. So that could be a pro and a con. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think pros are I love the theme, and like every day we're moving through line of the theme and direction. We're going towards something, and that help with how to plan your yoga sequence that day. That help how to plan your pranayama or how to plan your yin class. Like having a theme is so helpful, and rather than just doing like all around full body yoga flow every day, it's nice to have like chakra framework or philosophy framework that's going to help you inspire to come up with how you're going to sequence, how you're going to teach that day, what kind of energy you're bringing in. And I guess con would be something I learned from this retreat is that I want to do a little less next time around, in terms of I want to have a little less organized activities, more free time, without what's the word I'm looking for? Without,
Without sacrificing
yeah,
the
what's important.
intentionality of it, right? And
Exactly.
the ethical piece and all of that, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a balance, for sure, thinking about which things we maybe take out or shift, those kinds of things. But yeah, for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was important for me, and especially this kind of retreat of like ethical yoga retreat, to have a little more purpose and reasoning and asking people to go a little deeper than just showing up to a beautiful place and practice yoga. Wanted a little more intention behind it. And obviously, like I didn't push people to do anything they didn't feel comfortable, and people could choose to skip anything if they wanted to skip. So I feel like and then I guess another con is like there's a lot more prep work to include it if you have a themed retreat.
Yeah, I suppose if you didn't have a theme, maybe you'd be able to kind of have a little more flexibility.
Yeah.
I would say that we were very, very organized. And so that took some thinking maybe out for you because you did know exactly what you needed to focus on. But
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, for some people that maybe want a little more flexibility to shift day to
Mm-hmm.
day, then maybe it's not there as much. But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Definitely a lot more prep work as a teacher, like preparing, making sure you are prepared to do lead the philosophy discussion,
yeah,
prepared to teach a yoga class that is specifically aligned with whatever theme you're going that day. Before the retreat and during the retreat, I did feel like I was always prepping to make sure I was completely, fully ready and yeah, prepared. I'm an over prepper, so I want to be prepared as much as possible. Like I want to be 100% prepared, even if I only share 30% of what I prepared,
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
kind of who I am. So, that made me a little bit busier during the retreat. That could be a con if you want to just have more chill retreat where you don't really have to think too much as a facilitator, then maybe not having a specific theme might be easier to
Yeah.
organize.
I think both you and I have been on retreats, though, that have given us a foundational shift in our perspective on the world. And
Mhm.
it was really hard, just for me, to think about planning a retreat that would not provide any of those opportunities for other people while also making it not the sole purpose of it, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Ah,
okay, we're not here to change people's lives, but if they want to, they can, right? Like, I think retreat is the coolest part. One of my thoughts about the world is like, I hope everybody has the means, the opportunity, and the privilege one day in their life to go on a retreat because it's so powerful to
mhm.
that's who you are and, well, aligning to your purpose.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't know that we've kind of mentioned like what the day to day looked like. So,
Mhm.
you want to go through kind of what a day in the life of the retreat looked like as a participant?
Yeah. We started our yoga practice, 7:30 AM?
7:30 sounds right. Yeah.
7:30, yeah. So we started 7 we started our day with yoga practice every morning at 7:30 AM, and the class was 90 minutes long, hour and a half. And afterwards, we had breakfast together, and after breakfast, there was a little free time, and then in the afternoon, we met up to do, philosophy discussion. And, well, I guess lunch came in there somewhere.
I'm like, wait a minute. We have to kind of maybe pull up the schedule, but
Yeah.
I think it was yoga breakfast break,
lunch?
philosophy lunch,
Yeah. Was it
and
philosophy?
then maybe an activity, and then yin. Yeah.
Yin class, and then dinner.
And then dinner. Yeah.
So like that was like a three things for sure that usually went into a day was morning yoga practice, afternoon yoga philosophy discussion, and like around sunset time yin class. Those three things were kind of like the pillar each day. Typically had all those things. Some days we had activities like going hiking or going to volunteer work. And some days there was free time. People can sign up for extra activity they wanted to, or go get a massage or chill, hang out at the pool. Um, and then there was a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's kind of how, and then we started with the opening ceremony in the first day. And then the last day, evening before the last day, we ended with like a closing bonfire.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Opening ceremony is really cool too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you select the community engagement pieces? I'm just thinking about, for the activities, we sent out a survey with a few choices to gauge interest, which I'm sure we'll probably do again, so that we could make sure to honor what people were looking forward to, right? Sort of that expectation setting you mentioned before.
Mhm.
So then how did you select the community organizations and how did you kind of go about that process?
Yeah. When I reached out to this retreat center, when I was first interested and wanted to find out more information about this retreat center, I also asked the owner, do you know any local nonprofit that is doing amazing work locally that I could partner with or collaborate with? And he sent me two organizations that he recommended. So that's who I reached out to and found out that one of them was a after school program for youth in the in the community. And then another NGO was a women's empowerment program. So reached out to them and find out about what they do. I had some Zoom calls with them and wanted to find out what kind of volunteer work we can do as a group to get involved during the retreat. And kind of I allowed them to take a lead on activities or how we can get involved just because I felt like they're the one who is working in the community. They were the expert, and I kind of wanted to trust their expertise and knowledge and the relationship they have built over the whatever many years that they have been part of the community. So that's kind of how I went about partnering with a local NGO. It's a small fishing village that we were staying at. So there weren't a lot of nonprofit I could find outside of them. There could be more, but in terms of like really formal nonprofit, I couldn't find more than the one that I was introduced to. They might be more like small scale, non-official, community run, events and organization that probably happen, but as in terms of like official nonprofit or NGO, those are the only one I can find in that small town. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so cool that we worked with them. That was awesome.
Mhm.
That was an
Yes.
awesome part. Looking back at questions people wrote in from your mentorship, we've got some bigger questions. We can also talk about what my role was during the retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So
Okay.
before the retreat, we talked about how you help with organizing, setting like weekly goals and with checklists, what needs to get done, bouncing ideas around one another. But during the retreat, so we actually met at the airport in LAX, and we actually flew to Nicaragua together a couple days before the retreat started. We also spent a couple days after. So tell me, what was your role like during the retreat?
Yeah. I
Like, right
mean,
before, like, from the airport to
yeah, I was thinking about this too when you were talking about how much preparation you put into making sure that you were ready for each day, that you were really thinking about the chakra and your flow and just all those things. And my goal was to take on everything else so that you could be in that brain space.
Mhm.
So my role was really sort of like the student support or participant support, you could say. Um, and handling all the administrative things and yeah, just checking in on like participant experience.
Mhm.
So I would also participate in the yoga classes. So that was a lovely benefit on my part.
Yes.
And that, yeah, that was great because I love a Reika yoga class. So, and 90 minutes is such a lovely amount of time to really dig in deep on, one focus area. So, but at any rate, so I would take yoga class with you and I would interact with participants and kind of gauge how they were feeling. And when it would come up that they were interested in activities, sometimes I would help by sending out polls in our WhatsApp group. I remember upon arrival, we took pictures and videos of like getting through immigration and customs and like this is where you'll meet your driver. And you would have all these really amazing ideas and you would just tell me that that's what you wanted. And then I would implement them a lot of times. So I think you were able to be like, I'm having this administrative thought and I'm just going to give it to you and you'll take care of it. So I think that was a good thing because it's like, I didn't want to take away from like, you are the leader, this is your retreat. But again, I want you to have a person that you get to throw something at and you know that there's going to be follow through and it's going to align with your retreat.
Yeah.
So I was sort of the master of the WhatsApp and group communication, and we sent out questions every night for people to think about and journal and the itinerary for the next day. Essentially, we were really hoping to provide people the experience on the retreat that they didn't have to think about their basic needs being met. Right. I mean, that is one of the most beautiful things about retreats, at least in my experience, is that you know you're going to be fed and you don't have to think about where you're going next, usually. And just having those two things taken off your plate can be really healing for a lot of people. So that was my main role, was just helping you not have to think about those things and helping the participants not have to think about those things.
Yeah, definitely. And then you were also like in communication with the retreat staff to make sure like helping organize like, okay, surf lessons are best on this day and this day according to the wave and swell, and you had a sign up sheet ready for people who wanted to sign up for massage, and also like checking in with everybody if somebody felt anything about the room, and you were able to communicate between the retreat staff and the guests. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I could do all of that on my, like, I just try to imagine if I what would it been like if I was the only facilitator and leader of that retreat. And I don't think I can do it. you know? I mean,
I think I said it to you before, like, I think you could have. I don't know that you'd be as willing to do it again,
yeah.
right? Like, you may not have like enough positive feelings leaving the experience, right? Because you didn't get to be the teacher that you wanted to be, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you had to fill your brain with everything else too.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally. I think
sure
you
you could have done it, but
but I would have been like super stressed out the whole time. I think like exactly what you said. You let me be the teacher, I mean, be a yoga teacher. Like I didn't have to worry too much about anything else. Like making sure everybody had the right information to prepare for whatever event, activity we have going on, or anybody have questions, like they can come to you and ask questions about their schedule or logistic. So I could just focus on really teaching a good class, prepared to teach, facilitate philosophy discussion, and also show up and be the best version of me I can be to everybody who came to the retreat, versus like super stressed out, never really there because I'm always like running around trying to figure stuff out. And like, so I feel like having you there help out, I definitely like could focus on teaching and be a yoga teacher, which is nice.
I'm trying to think if you were, because your audience is people who are also full-time yoga teachers. So if you were running a retreat and you didn't have a me, but maybe you could ask a student to join at like a discounted rate or a work trade rate to fulfill some of these roles, what would be some of like the questions or expectations that you could ask somebody to sort of interview them to see if they would be the right fit? Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. I think you have to be organized. Like you have to be able to think ahead. Like, okay, what's tomorrow? And like, what are the things that make sure everybody have the information about? So like organizational skills, and being able to plan, or communication is another one I think huge. Being able to communicate clearly, and also like how to leading a group is hard, like, in activities. And like leading a group and teaching a yoga to a group class is a very, very different skill set than leading a yoga retreat. Like it's leading a daily activities, making sure that the transportation set up, make sure we have enough people in the van, make sure people are on time, make sure this person with this dietary restriction is taken care of. Like those kind of things are like a slightly different set of skill sets and being able to lead a group class. It's a trip leader. Like I used to be a trip leader for a tourism company. So it's kind of like that. You have to be able to, like, it's event organizing. You have to be able to organize an event and think about all the little moving pieces and make sure everything kind of is ready, prepared. And also, I think personal communication, I think, is important because you communicate a lot with the guests and participants and checking on how they're doing. And if people had a question or uncertain about certain thing, you were able to like be there and listen, and then you were able to communicate with me what was needed and what I needed to know about what's happening. So I think that communication skills is great. I don't know, organization skill, and also being able to lead a group and facilitate and make sure we can all get the daily activities done.
Yeah. So probably just, yeah, asking how, like, what experience people have had with leading groups or, like, yeah, just communication styles. And I think it also, we spent so much time together, working together, that hopefully it showed you that level of organization. So when I proposed that I would just be that role for you, it felt more natural, right? And so I just kind of wondered what it would be like if you hadn't met me, right, at a yoga teacher retreat in Peru, right? Like,
Yeah.
how would you find someone like me?
Yeah.
Because it just did grow so organically.
Mhm.
And I think, thinking about you talking about sort of just all the pieces that go into it, I think like how I would summarize it too is that you're trying to make sure that people feel like not just that their needs are met, but that somebody cares, right? Somebody cares that they are comfortable so that they don't feel like they have to suffer through discomfort, because that's where sort of upside down expectations and disappointment can get really mixed up, and people will bottle up those feelings, and then it will come out, really big later and really big emotions. And so you're not trying to like have people not feel their feelings, but also be like, it's okay to be uncomfortable, but only to a certain level, right? And so
Yeah.
like helping people figure out their thresholds, helping people know that like there is somebody that wants them to feel better and wants to solve problems for them. Because again, the point of the retreat is that they don't have to think about those things, and they get
Yeah.
to have personal reflection. I think of it like Bloom's taxonomy, right? That we're making sure that, like survival needs, right? Basic survival and, like the foundational pieces of the triangle are met so that they can get to that self-actualization at the top. I mean, that's, I would say, a goal of a retreat, and really how we talked about retreats, right?
Yeah.
Having experienced it ourselves. So, the time that we were putting into organizing it might have seemed like a lot to some people, who've never done it before, but all of that prep work allowed it so that people could get to those higher levels, right?
Yes, for sure. And I think anybody running a retreat who's listening, unless your retreat is small, maybe sometime retreat can have like 5 or 6 participants, and then it may be like, you probably can handle it on your own. But if you have a bigger retreat, or maybe it's a really far away destination retreat, like whether you do the retreat with another yoga teacher friend partner, or like I know many retreat where they have a work trade, like you give a discount to a retreat participant in exchange of helping out during the retreat with this kind of organization, or like sending WhatsApp communication or whatever it is. So I think I would encourage that, especially if it's your first retreat for anybody. Just have somebody, whether it's your partner where you work with or the helper that you're working with. I think and also it's nice to have somebody to kind of like debrief at the end of the day to make sure like talk about how the day went and what we can do the next day.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, but I think you felt this way too, it was easier to not take things as personally because I knew there was somebody I could talk to about it that would help me problem solve it in a way that wasn't like a personal reflection on like my failings as a leader or that kind of thing. So that was nice just to be like, I noticed this thing or this interaction happened or I heard this feedback And what would you like to do to make that actionable?
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. Having the time at night to just be like, okay, so what do we do with this information and how do
Yeah.
we adjust for this was really helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I would underline too, like if it's your first time around, have somebody to support you. Maybe the second time, maybe not, but
Yeah.
maybe not. I don't know. It depends. Like you said, it depends on the retreat, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, depends on the retreat. And also, yeah, definitely if it's like a weekend retreat, super close to your neighborhood, like, your hometown or your home, and it's a small retreat, I think like totally, I think
Yeah.
some teacher can do it on their own.
But
But
even then,
big
like if you could
retreat,
afford it, right?
yeah.
Just having somebody there.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it's possible, if you have the extra space, yeah, that gift to yourself to
Mm,
be able to really be in your practice and be focused just on the content. I
yeah,
think it is wonderful.
for sure.
Big questions. Let's try to put it in like quick phrases, maybe. What was
Mhm.
the biggest lesson?
Biggest lesson I learned was, yeah, there's so many, but biggest lesson I learned, trust yourself and do it. I know it's scary, but find somebody who can help you or collaborate, partner with somebody, and just do it. And you learn a lot as you're doing it. So just do it. It's possible. Like for me, this was like a dream that I wasn't sure if it was gonna ever come into fruition, but it happened. So I think trust yourself, have really good people around you who believe in you and who can support you.
Shout out to your mom. What did we end up calling her? The Shala Mama.
Yeah, so
She did a lot of work too and was so supportive and shared a room with all of us. So it was lovely getting to know her. And she also was such a lovely supporter in the background.
yeah, she was a silent supporter, very quiet one in the back, but she was like, she was so supportive and helping whenever she can. And she made a lot of the goodies for the welcome bag for everybody. And yeah, she was a um, great, like a quiet supporter, but then
Yeah.
like, also like kind of like the almost felt like a pillar, but like
Mhm.
she kind of helped make sure, like, I don't know, it was silent, like, and maybe people didn't notice, but, like, she was a pillar that was keeping everything up.
I knew she would be there and she would be seeking ways to be helpful and
Yeah.
like, always finding the best way. Other big questions that hopefully you can wrap up.
Uh-huh.
The best highlight.
The best highlight that I can kinda, think of right away is I just love the temescal we did together, which was a sweat lodge. It was on the first day, and I think it brought a lot of people together. We went through a little discomfort together, sometimes it was challenging, but I think it brought us together. I just remember sitting in the pool after the sweat lodge and drinking this beautiful lemongrass tea with everybody, and it was I don't know what, there was a magic. There was a magic that happened that day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. Like it's the opposite because it's fire, but it broke the ice, right? Like
Yeah.
it really brought us together, but it was so uncomfortable for some people, but it was also really supported.
Mhm.
And so it set the foundation that like you get to push yourself to a place outside of your comfort zone that you are willing to do and you will be supported doing that. That is both safe, right? And nurturing. But yeah, the Temescal was wonderful for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, a quick list of must-haves or must-dos.
I think must have is I really survey sending out beforehand, having that Zoom call, I think was super helpful. And also have a really good liability forms, agreement forms people sign. Make it very, very clear and set up expectations for your guest who's coming or what the place is going to be, what is the experience going to be like, and setting guidelines and rules on make sure people sign the agreement form, make sure people make all the payments. If you have structure set up that those expectations are set and clear from the beginning and people read it, people sign it, it'll make it a lot easier later when maybe some things go wrong. I think it's really
Yeah.
smart to have those things really set up well. And I even found a lawyer, paid a lawyer to write a agreement form that was good and professional. So I think that's something definitely worth investing in.
Well, yeah, because you get to use it again. So that was,
Mhm.
we keep talking about like it felt like a lot of time and some money investing to prepare for this retreat, but you've now laid the foundation for all future retreats going forward.
Mhm.
My thing I would just say is if that list felt overwhelming to anybody listening, like,
Mhm.
wait, I need to organize a spreadsheet that shows if people have paid or not, or like I have to think about liability forms. That's your cue to be like, maybe I should ask somebody to support me with the first time. Like if you have those
Yes.
resources or you can do work trade or whatever it is, right? Because just having somebody else that has had experience going through a retreat or running events or a movement studio or whatever it is, right? Just to like help you think through those things, I think is
Mhm.
so crucial so that you don't get caught in some, you know, I don't know, like risky situations or just uncomfortable situations, right?
Mhm.
Is there one thing you would do differently next time?
First thing, just quickly that comes to mind is less activity, more free time. I do still want to have some organized activity to do together, but I want to create a little more spaciousness in the schedule, more time for people to chill, relax, or choose their own adventure if they want to. And so that kind of balance of scheduled planned activities and free time. Next time around, I'll increase the free time and decrease the planned activities.
Yeah. To that end, what would you not compromise on?
Mm. Daily yoga class and daily philosophy discussion for sure will not go away because for me, that's like, again, like the pillar of the yoga retreat. For me, what's important is we are practicing. Obviously, I guess everything's optional. People can sleep in and skip it. But as a retreat facilitator, I'm always going to offer yoga classes twice a day, one like heating practice and one that's more gentle practice when it's possible. Me, I know not every yoga teacher feel this way or retreat facilitator feel this way, but philosophy is such a huge, huge part of yoga that is not very, I wouldn't say it's not valued. Maybe it's not as offered as much or it's not as available. So definitely because we do the physical movement, we do breathing, and then the philosophy kind of bring it back to like what is it that we're actually doing, like what is it that we're doing or what is it that we call yoga, and asks us deeper questions. So those three things are non-negotiable for me, or I guess two things, yoga and philosophy.
Yoga and philosophy. Yeah. Would you do it again?
The retreat,
Yeah.
the exciting news is the retreat is happening again in 2026, Align with Purpose Ethical Yoga Retreat in Nicaragua. Same location. We're just so excited to go back, and we are super excited because it's just going to be better this time. I mean, not to say the first time was so amazing, but like I said, I like to learn from every opportunities, and I'm always thinking about how I can tweak it, make it different, evolve next time around. And so I'm really excited to go back and really bring back the beauty and the essence of what I think really went well. And also, like I said, that maybe having more free time, little tweaks here and there that we're making it. So it's going to be, I'm just so excited about it.
Yeah.
So,
I
yes,
mean,
it's,
all the things that we keep talking about wanting to change, they're just they're
Mhm.
micro details when you really think about it. And the core organization of it was so beautiful and transformative for so many people. The reflections that we got were so beautiful. I'm so excited to do it again. Yay.
So stay tuned. I'll be announcing the dates and registrations soon for anybody interested in joining us next year, 2026. It'll be in the summertime. And I want listeners to know, like, if they are looking for support, like the support you gave me for helping me run this retreat, helping me organize and think about this retreat, but you do more than just helping yoga teachers with the retreat, but just kind of like helping teachers get that bigger picture, but also able to kind of go micro into like, okay, let's work on these steps and these goals so that you can have this bigger goals. So if they're thinking like they need Joe too, like I wish I had Joe in my retreat planning or my business. So what are some things you could help yoga teachers with who's listening who might be interested in your service, and how can they reach out to you, how they can contact you if you are you know um, open to taking on want to.
Yeah, I super appreciate that. Since I said at the very beginning, like, it would be cool if this was my full-time job of just meeting really amazing humans and helping them level up, right? Like, that's what it feels like. Hey, what do you think is, an unrealistic fantasy because you're just maxed for time, right? And how can I make you realize that that is possible within your scope, right? Within your capacity. So, I mean, I'd say retreats, of course, I can help with, events, workshops, just creative problem solving. I love hearing a problem and then getting to know every aspect of it and pulling it apart and coming up with a solution that aligns with who you are and what you want. So yeah, I now have a website called Organic Adaptive Movement. So it's organicadaptive.com. You can email me to start information and for more information. And yeah, I think I'm open for a few new clients if people want to just have a creative session. I am offering free consultations to about a 30-minute call if people would like to just kind of see if we're a good fit. I think the most important thing is that you do feel comfortable with me in the sort of organic and flexible way that I'm helping you get to those goals. Again, I don't know what to call us, right? But like, we're out there, we're there to support you. And I think you'd be surprised with who is in your community and the connections that you make. And sometimes you just have to, I don't know, just go with the risk of like, somebody reaches out their hand and says, I'm ready to help you. And you go for it, which is what you did, Reika, ultimately. I mean, I didn't have an official business, but I just said, I have experience and I certainly want to help you. And you took that risk. So I'm so glad that you did. Thank you for seeing in me also where I needed to grow and where I needed to go in my professional life. So thank you.
Thank you, Jo. And I'm going to put all of the links to what Jo just shared of our website and email and all of that on the show notes. So if anybody is interested, I would really, really, really take advantage of that free 30-minute consultation call. Because like I said before, that retreat wouldn't have happened if I didn't have you along my side helping me and keeping me on track, and also, have somebody to go through that with and like bounce ideas around. And that is obviously the reason why we're still working together again for next year.
Yeah.
So I think if anybody's not only retreat, but if anybody's looking for somebody to help you in the business, because I know it's not easy to be your own little business owner in the yoga world. So I think it's very smart to have help and ask for help when it's necessary. So this was such a fun conversation, Jo.
Yeah.
It was nice to kind of reflect back on that retreat. That feels like it was last year, but it was still this year. And I'm very, very excited for Ethical Yoga Retreat Aligned with Purpose 2026.
Yay!
All the listeners, just know that you'll be one of the first one to know, and I'll be letting everybody know on the podcast when the registration opens. So thank you, Jo, so much for your time and sharing it, and asking great questions, but also sharing your experience of this retreat. I think it's kind of cool to have both of our experiences kind of laid out on this conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Reika.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation I had with Jo about running Ethical Yoga Retreat in Nicaragua. And like I said in the conversation, I am excited to thank you for listening to the conversation I had about running yoga retreat with Jo. And like I announced and mentioned in the conversation, I'm very, very excited to tell you that I will be running Nicaragua Aligned with Purpose Ethical Yoga Retreat again next year, 2026, in the summertime. Dates are being finalized as we speak. And I had a great time in the retreat that we hosted this year. And it was my first ethical yoga retreat that I have hosted. So I know I can make it better and improve it and tweak little things here and there to make the experience better for participants, but also so that we can hopefully have more positive impact in the local community as well. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you got some ideas or learned from what I have learned in my experience. my brain always works in how can I improve? How can I make a tweak? What are some changes that I can make to make the experience even better next time? So I'm super excited about that. Dates are being finalized, and it'll be coming out soon. If you are interested in being on the wait list so that you can get notified of this retreat as soon as registration open and get a super early bird discount deal, then I'm going to put the link to put your name on the wait list so you can get the best deal possible if you're interested in coming on this retreat. Like I said, I'll put all the link and information on how you can get in touch with Jo, her website, and I highly encourage, if anyone's interested, to check out her free 30-minute consultation offer. I can guarantee you will not regret it. She is really good at the work she does. She really helped me. She just allowed me to be the best teacher I can be on the retreat. And I felt comfortable to do so because she was able to take care of other little admin stuff, as well as she helped me organize all the little steps it takes to do the retreat and all the preparing for the retreat. So she played a lot of roles. She wore a lot of hats before, during, and after the retreat. And it was really fun to work with her. And that is why I'm working with her again for next year's yoga retreat in Nicaragua. Go check her website out. Go sign up for her consultation. You will not regret it. All the links will be on the show notes. I hope you enjoyed this week's conversation. If you liked this conversation, please rate, review, star, subscribe, whatever you can do on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast from. But the most importantly, what's going to be most helpful is to share this podcast with your friend, with your yoga teacher, with your coworkers, or even share on your story. Share it on Instagram. That would be super helpful for me. I always love hearing from you, hearing from listeners. So if you want to message me about anything we talked about or anything you have, anything, questions, or even you just want to say hi, just know that my Instagram is at Reika Yoga, ReikaYoga, and my website is www.reikayoga.com. That's how you can reach out to me if you ever want to chat or say hi. So that's it from me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and speak to you next week. Bye.